Here we have two motorcycles that you guys probably would not expect a comparison video on. To my right, we have the 2022 Yamaha XSR 900 loaner bike that Yamaha has let us keep our grubby little hands on for quite a while. Here on the left, we have our WBR Garage Season 5 CBR1000RR that started its life as a regular CBR1000RR with a ticking engine. So in today's video, we are going to try to answer the age-old question, is it better to build or buy your perfect motorcycle? And with these two bikes as our subjects today, I think I'm gonna have quite a good time. I'm Chase, this is Chaseontwowheels. Let's get into it. At first, I never thought about comparing these two bikes, but after taking the CBR1000 for its shakedown run, something finally clicked in my head. Both of these bikes are modern sport bikes done in a retro-inspired way. Now granted, the XSR is based off of an 80s kind of retro, and the CBR1000 is a bit of a let's say a timeless avant-garde retro. But regardless, both are meant to pair yesteryear's looks with modern technology, and that is a great basis for a comparison. Let's start off with the overall designs, seeing as that's where the initial impressions typically start. On one hand, you have the easier of the two options, bought. Go to a dealership, pick out the bike that you like the most, sign on the dotted line. Built, however, involves a few more steps. First, start with every bike known to man. Next, narrow down that list to what you can actually obtain. Then, it's time to get creative. Will you be able to take any of these bikes on the chopping block and mold them into the bike you're dreaming of? Both of these bikes meet in a middle ground between sport bike and naked bike, although they started on opposing ends. The XSR 900, if you didn't know, is based on the MT-09, a wily naked motard-esque machine, and the latter started off life as a 2008 CBR1000RR, which we all know is a top-tier supersport capable of some insane speeds when pushed to the limit. Since the day we took delivery of what we have come to call the Cafe Fighter, we have torn it down entirely and reworked the bike into what you see here. Step back and you'll notice both bikes are equipped with round headlights, handlebars paired with bar end mirrors, and minimal bodywork that acts as an incorporative design elements and not giant canvases to hide componentry. Now mechanically, these bikes differ because one is powered by an inline 3-cylinder and the other is an inline 4. However, since both are from this century, both have liquid cooling, which happens to lead into our first difference. Because the XSR 900 is a showroom bike, Yamaha took the time to build these unassuming radiator guards. A small detail, but one that adds to both form and function. Besides keeping you and others away from hot things, the radiator shrouds also hides what some might consider unsightly. Now, in the case of our CBR1000, we opted to lean into having our radiator on display because that's how cafe racers were. Kind of. The original cafe racers were air-cooled, so they never had to think about radiators, but for what was there, builders never worried about hiding it, thus our decision was made. Speaking of cafe racer design features, both bikes feature seats that are a nod to their respective muses. The XSR 900, although more comfortable, features a statement maker of a saddle. In the way of proportions, this seat is huge, and there's no missing it with the texture of the vinyl against the luster of the paint. Now, I know Yamaha was trying to emulate the blocky tail sections of the 80s and 90s as well as retro banana seats, but it's a lot to take in. Luckily, I love it, but I know there's tons of people out there that are going to be on the opposite side of the fence. For our WBR Garage CBR1000RR, we were already locked into a fairly minimal seat size, and then as the bike began to take shape, we decided to cut down the sides to better suit the overall look of the bike. Then, rather than going back to the stock Corinthian pleather, we sprang for Alcantara to go along with the premium aesthetics we wanted for the bike. To round out the tail section, we reached out to our body guy to sculpt us a one-off piece in the vein of cafe-style tail humps. It's always a bit of a leap of faith when it comes to custom work because you never know 100% certain how things are going to come out. That's why major one-off bike builds are typically either done by big shops or over long periods of time and sometimes never reach completion. Something to consider when you start to dream of what you want your bike to look like. But as beautiful as both of these bikes are, neither is just a pretty face. So when it comes to features, this is a bit of a knife at a gunfight situation. The XSR is chock full of rider aids like traction control, brake control, slide control, lift control, cruise control, 6-axis IMU, adjustable suspension, power modes, and a quick shifter. Granted, this bike, as of the time filming, is still the current year model, so that's all normal. Now, the CBR1000RR Cafe Fighter, on the other hand, was new in 2008, so brace yourself for a slightly less lengthy list. Our CBR1000RR Cafe Fighter comes with a steering stabilizer and adjustable suspension. Now, that was less of a choice and more of a matter of fact when it came to our build process. I'm sure there is some company out there that makes a kit to retrofit all the upgrades and the rider aids we could ever want for, but that's not the way the bike rolled off the line as a race replica, so if the bike was already dialed enough to not need all of those enhancements, why spend the time? However, say you did want to adopt all the fancy new features to your bike. What would that look like? No, really, what would that look like? Most bikes that come with tech features and rider aids incorporate technology from race bikes at the prototype phase. Then, once the engineers have a functioning platform, they send it over to the designers to make things look pretty. The bot route is pretty cut and dry, but if you decide to build, R&D now falls on you. Sourcing, purchasing, fabrication, and installation, as well as testing. That's without the inevitable lather, rinse, and repeat when things don't work the first time, which, come on, they never work the first time. One last feature I do have to touch on before we move forward is the exhaust. The XSR 900 comes with a solid exhaust system that runs underneath and blends in order to not detract from the focal points. All bikes built off the CP3 platform come with this exhaust, and as a result, you'll sound just like any other CP3 bike. I don't care how clean or tidy of an exhaust the bike comes with, if it's my bike, I want to hear the engine. That's why we opted for an SC Project exhaust, and I'll let it speak for itself. Now, can our SC Project exhaust be considered excessive? Yes. Is our SC exhaust possibly not legal according to your local legislation? Maybe. But will you be mistaken for anyone else coming around the corner? Not a chance. So guys, at the end of the day, these bikes are just as similar as they are dissimilar. On one hand, we have a well-honed platform that comes from the factory with a warranty. On the other hand, we have a hand-built experience that serves as a separation from the norm. Both of these bikes have been inspired by the same past, but they ended up in different places. So the question is, which one's best? Well, the answer to that is kind of hard and depends. Are you the type of person to grab a product right off the shelf and mold yourself to fit that product? Or are you more the type of person that needs a tailored fit experience? Now, either answer is fine. There's no shade either way, but this is where we bring it back to built versus bought. Now guys, a stock bike off the showroom floor is gonna be great for the majority of the people out there, but a custom bike is perfect, but it's only perfect for one person. We've talked at length about contrasting and comparing both of these motorcycles, but the major question here is, what are you gonna do when things get out of spec? The XSR 900 is bone stock. You could probably take this to any Yamaha dealership and have it back within a day to a week, depending on how bad the situation. Now, our CBR1000RR, on the other hand, could be taken to a typical dealer since we did retain the majority of the bike. However, a custom shop would probably garner less questions and head scratching. Along with that knowledge and expertise, however, comes more time spent disassembling, diagnosing, reassembling, and double checking for things like valve keepers slightly ajar. For the sake of this video, I think if I had to pick one of these bikes to go with right now, I'd have to say the 2022 XSR 900. Now, with this whole YouTube thing being my job, I ride my bikes a lot. That means putting a ton of miles on them, and with always having a build going on for WBR Garage, I wouldn't want something to happen to the CBR 1000 and then suddenly I've got two builds on my hands. The built versus bought debate is more of an introspection into what brings you the most joy as a rider. Are you the sort of person that wants to go out to your bike, turn the key, and just ride? Or are you the type of person that gets a lot of enjoyment out of having an issue with your bike, being able to diagnose it, fix that issue, and then go for a ride? That's what you need to ask yourself, and depending on the answer, the style of bike that's right for you can change just that fast. That being said, if I'm going to enter to potentially win a motorcycle, then I definitely go with something custom built and unique over a bike that I could just walk into a dealership and purchase. Speaking of which, our CBR1000RR from WBR Garage Season 5 has already gotten a winner, but we still have a CBR 600 and 300 up for grabs. Don't forget, go over to WBRgarage.com, sign up. We're doing 2 times entries for the rest of the year for the giveaway at the end of the year. So you guys go over there, sign up. For as little as $5, you can get 10 entries to win our either 600 or our 300 CBRs. If you guys enjoyed this video, make sure to hit that like button, and for all types of two-wheel content, make sure to subscribe to the channel. I'm Chase, this is Chaseontwowheels. You guys ride safe, and we'll see you on the next one. All right, Outdoor crew, thank you for getting to the end of the video. Make sure to put OC in your comment down below. Now, you guys know I custom built this CBR1000 to be exactly what I wanted out of a motorcycle build. What I want to know about from you guys is let us know what you're doing for your dream build. What are you starting with, and what are you going to do to it? You guys ride safe out there. Thanks a lot for getting to the end of the video. I love you a little bit longer. We'll see you on the next one.